What really happened just 2 hours before Jungkook boarded a plane for a world tour in the United States? Why did the atmosphere suddenly turn so quiet, even making BTS's V immediately surprised when he heard it? The ARMY was completely unprepared for this moment. In the midst of a hectic schedule, huge preparations, and increasingly intense world spotlight, Jungkook suddenly does something unusual. Not an extra rehearsal, not a photo session, not even an official meeting, but an honest confession that just came out, as if he had buried it for too long. A source close to him said Jungkook looked much calmer than usual, but there was something in his eyes that was different. It's like a burden that he carries quietly. And exactly 2 hours before departure, he finally opened the vote. The first sentence alone is enough to make the room freeze. He spoke slowly, but every word was heavy. Jungkook expressed feelings that he has rarely shown in public. He doesn't talk about the grand stage or the enthusiasm of the tour, but about the pressure, longing, and small fears that an idol of his size often hides. And that's where Taehyung's reaction takes place. The BTS, who is usually relaxed and full of warm expressions, suddenly fell silent. His eyes widened as if he couldn't believe what he had just heard. ARMY, who knew this piece of story, immediately speculated. What exactly did Jungkook say that made Taehyung so surprised? Some people thought Jungkook was saying something about the future. Others believe he is being honest about his emotional state ahead of the big tour. But one thing is clear, this is no ordinary conversation. There's something very personal. What made the moment even more emotional was the way Jungkook said it. Not dramatic, not far-fetched. Precisely because it was too sincere, the atmosphere was piercing. As if Jungkook wanted to make sure that before stepping far into the world stage, he left honesty in the face of those who understood him best. Sure, and what makes it all the more shocking is what happened after that confession. A few minutes after Jungkook finished speaking, no one immediately responded. There was no laughter to break the mood. No jokes as usual. Only the silence felt so heavy, as if everyone in the room realized that they had just heard something very deep, something Jungkook had never said before. Taehyung remained silent. But then, he did something that made the staff around surprised. BTS's V slowly stood up, approached Jungkook without saying anything, then patted his shoulder softly. Small gesture, but full of meaning. As if he wanted to say, I heard everything. I was here. And that's when Jungkook's expression changed. His eyes were glazed, but he held back. Jungkook is not the type to show tears easily. But the moment was too real. Too honest. Too human. ARMY, who heard this news, immediately felt mixed. Because all this time Jungkook is known as a strong figure, full of energy, always looking perfect. But this time, he showed a side that is rarely shown, a fragile side that he has kept tight. Many began to wonder, is Jungkook scared? Not afraid to perform, but afraid to miss the moment together. Fear of increasing distances. Afraid that this world tour is not just about concerts, but about big changes in their lives. Some fans even believe that Jungkook's words were not just an ordinary event, but rather some kind of emotional message that he conveyed before it all really started. Such a subtle warning. And Taehyung's reaction reinforced that assumption. Because V is not a person who is easily surprised. But this time, he looked like someone who had just heard something very personal, something that might not even have been discussed between them before. ARMY also began to recall the little moments that later happened. Jungkook's gaze was longer than usual. The way Taehyung looks more protective. The atmosphere felt more emotional than the previous tour era. It's like there's a big story going on behind the scenes. And more people feel that Jungkook's confession may not just be about the tour. Probably about him. About the pressure it is latent. About the fatigue he never showed. Or about something that will change immediately after the start of this tour. As of now, no official statement has revealed the full content of Jungkook's remarks. And the most goosebumps-inducing part is what happened right after that. According to those around them, Jungkook had lowered his head for a long time, as if he was trying to gather the courage to say one last sentence. A sentence that even made Taehyung hold his breath. The mood really changed. No music. No cell phone sound. Even the staff's footsteps sounded quiet, as if everyone was afraid to spoil the overly emotional moment. Then Jungkook finally said something that made BTS's V immediately look at him sharply. Not out of anger, but out of surprise. As if he didn't think Jungkook would confess that far. ARMY immediately speculated, because after that sentence, Taehyung could only whisper quietly, "Don't say that." And that's enough to make fans tremble. What did Jungkook say? Some fans suspect Jungkook spoke of his fears that the tour would be one of the toughest trips of his life. Others believe he is uncovering something about the mental distress he has been hiding all along. But there is also a much more emotional theory, that Jungkook might feel guilty. I feel guilty because I don't feel enough. Guilty because he always looks strong, whereas in him there is a tired part. He was afraid of disappointing the ARMY. And if that's true, no wonder Taehyung was surprised. Because for Taehyung, Jungkook is not just the youngest member. Jungkook is the younger brother he saw grow from trainee to world superstar. And seeing Jungkook speak that honestly, like seeing a wall that has been solid, finally cracked. A few minutes later, Taehyung did something that left everyone in the room speechless once again. He hugged Jungkook. Not a stage hug. Not a hug for the camera, but a very personal hug. A hug that is only done when someone really wants to say, "I get it." And at that moment, Jungkook could no longer hide his emotions. His eyes were red. He smiled a little, but it felt like the smile of someone who was holding a storm in his heart. ARMY who read this story immediately wrote the same comments everywhere. We forget they are also human beings. Jungkook must have borne too much burden. Taehyung has always been there for me. And now, that world tour has finally begun.